You know, as a public land do-it-yourself over-the-counter bow hunter, I've got some pretty cool deer on the wall. Big 6, 137-inch 6-pointer. A lot of cool deer off public land. And the one that I wanted the most is the one we're going to tell you the story about today. White 8. He's not as cool as Freak Nasty here, but he was a pretty special deer because I had more history with him than any other deer. So the story of White 8 really started shaping up in 2015. It was the second year I got this deer on camera. Now he's a 3.5-year-old. He looked exactly the same as he did the previous year as a 2.5-year-old. Those wide, splayed out G2s. And but then the next year, so now it's the third year I've got this deer on camera, and you'll see he's starting to really come into his own as a 4.5-year-old. Those wide G2s are just really super impressive to me. And you'll see here as he turns right here how wide this deer is. I know White 8 is not a really creative name, but my gosh, that was very fitting for this guy. And so as a 4.5-year-old, this guy is really starting to show some incredible potential. Really got my attention. The next year, I finally got him in daylight. He's really matured up now. He's a 5.5-year-old stud. And just watching him come in and work this scrape in daylight just got my juices flowing. Really super, super cool deer as a 5.5-year-old. And I just love watching him over these years. Now the cool thing about it is he threw a kicker off his left G2. You'll start seeing it now as he kind of gets his antlers and his rack out of the brush and the limbs there. You can see a good look at it right there. That kicker kind of extends up and above and beyond where the G2 normally would go, and gives it some really good character. Really cool buck at this point. So again, to say I was enamored with this buck would be an understatement. Just I've loved watching this guy live and move around, and he's old, he's wise, he doesn't move around in daylight much. This was the only daylight clip I got him of this time. And then a couple months later he shows up and crap, look at that. He's broken off his left G2, the one that gave him all that cool character. I mean, he's a cool buck anyway, but the character point is gone. He's broke it off in a fight with another buck. You can see it really good right here. And as he eyes something probably embedded down though over there on the other side of the scrape. But yeah, oh my gosh, I was heartbroken at this. So yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. So he kind of really, kind of took him off the hit list at that point. So a couple months go by and he's cruising around with this spike here. And if you notice, the spike has dropped his right side, and if you look real closely, White 8 has dropped his left side. You'll see it really clearly as he steps into frame right about now. So the cool thing is it made me realize that, hey, it's out there. So once I saw White 8 had dropped his shed, I made it just an all-out goal that year. I'd never found any of his sheds, and just seeing the one antler still holding one on there just made it so much real that he had dropped one. And I just, like I said, I had to go find it. And I've searched this area where he beds for a long time, for several years, looking for his sheds, because I've been, like I said, enamored with this buck. But just really put everything into it this year. And I mean, I'm crawling through briars, I'm crawling through cedars, going underneath them, literally where I almost couldn't breathe because I had like a foot of space to crawl under for 50, 60 yards at a time. I mean, it's just so thick where he beds at. It's one reason why he got so old. And that's where he spent a lot of his time. Like I said, I got one really good roll of footage from him coming out during the rut one time chasing a doe, and that was it. He pretty much stayed in the bedding area all the time. And so I'm looking for the shed, and I come across something in front of me, and I'm looking, and I'm like, it is, finally, I found one of his sheds. You can tell it's the splayed out, wide G2, that if it's on his head, this goes way, way out wide. So I finally find one of his sheds. Now, obviously, you can tell, you look at it, it was the previous season's shed. So, but I was ecstatic that I finally found a shed intact Even got the little acorn thing up here on the front. I can identify this. You can see right here this little kind of a bladed out area that shows up on a lot of the trail cam footage. Actually, the one where when I talk about how wide he is, he reaches back and he licks himself. You can see this is the shed from that clip. That's really awesome, pretty cool. But again, I'm still, I'm really kind of wanting to find the one that had fallen off right then. So I kept at it, kept looking, days and days and days of looking in this bedding area, and lo and behold, I come across the broken off G2 where it snapped off. And I mean, it's just really cool. You can see it's weird because it's got a lot of base still left in that pulled out of his skull. Made me really wonder if he was going to be okay, because there's like an inch of bone that pulled out of his skull when he's dropped this antler. But it's where it broke off when he was fighting one, and I was just again ecstatic that I was able to find this shed that where he had broken it off. And at that point, really, I kind of gave up. I was like, that's all I could ask for. I mean, I couldn't believe I'd actually found 2 sheds within a week's time, back to back. One a previous season, one this year, the one where he had snapped it off. So it was the shed from this year that he had snapped off. But I went back a couple more times, kind of looking around, and then just looked up one time, and at an area I'd walked, and it was kind of more of an open area, and I thought I saw a spike shed. And I'm like, cool, I found a spike. I mean, if you've ever followed me on social media, I label myself the world's worst shed hunter. I am not a good shed hunter. But I just wanted this buck so bad. So I walked over and picked up the shed, and guess what? It was his broken off G2. As soon as I picked it up, I recognized it. It's got the long kicker that extends out. I think I said it was longer than his G2 earlier. What I really meant by saying was it sticks out and makes it taller. This point is taller than the whole G2. But I brought it home immediately, and look at this. It matches up perfectly. I mean, look at that. That is awesome. So that's where he was fighting, and where it snapped off and broke off. So I will not fix that. The reason I'm sitting here beside this, I like this pedestal mount, but I leave this here as a cool decoration at the base of this pedestal mount, and I leave those separate, lying there like that, so if someone wants to pick this up, or I can explain the story to them, that White 8's broken G2 came back home to marry up with his main beam. So what a cool thing. I mean, to me, that's why I'm telling this story. To me, this is a 1 in a million find. This is like somebody finding a 5-leaf clover or a 6-leaf clover to me. I'm not a good shed hunter, and the fact that I found this and matched it up, pretty freaking incredible if you ask me. So there's his whole antler intact, found over a week's time, 2 separate locations. I found them probably 400 yards apart. So pretty awesome. So anyway, thanks for sticking around to hear the story of White 8 and see this immaculate, awesome deer. Following up, I did get footage of him this year, 2018, at the beginning of the season, and then a development came in and cleared off a whole bunch of land trying to, I guess they sold a farm or something, and cleared out a lot of the bedding area where he hung out, and I have not seen him since. So the story of White 8, I guess, kind of fitting. I didn't find him dead. No one shot him that I know of. He could be out there. He might not. But I know that he made it one more year past this shed for sure, because I got more pictures of him on trail camera this year. But nothing since then. So anyway, thanks for sticking around, and I hope you enjoyed the story of White 8.